Stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome in. Nice to have you. A terrific Tuesday, man. Are we ever jam-packed today? In just a little bit, in about 12, 13 minutes or so, Tim Doolin will join us. We talk baseball. Down the stretch we come. We're less than 20 games to the end of the regular season. There's still some wild card races that are interesting. Home run production is way up. Mr. Doolin will weigh in on that. The NFL last night, obviously the big story is Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers goes down on his fourth play at 39 years of age. We'll find out a little bit later when an MRI tells us exactly what happens, but it sure seems like it is an Achilles injury.
It's officially official, according to Tom Pelissero.
Okay, so here's what you really got to know. Is this a partially torn Achilles?
Complete.
A complete torn Achilles. That's a year. At 39 years of age and a year, he'll be 40. This is probably, I hate to say it, the end of the Aaron Rodgers era. So if I recall correctly, his deal was like a 4-year deal, somewhere in the $200 million range. But what was guaranteed was 2 years, $75 million. I'm almost certain of that part. You, with those quick hands, getting
$75 million in guaranteed full money over 2023 and 2024.
Yeah, over 2 years.
Uh-huh.
So,
but like you said, a 4-year deal.
So, here is the math on that.
No, just a 2-year deal. I apologize. 2-year deal.
It was just a 2-year deal?
That's what it says here. According to
I thought he had a 4-year, $200 million deal, but only 2 years guaranteed at 75. That's what I thought the deal was. Anyway, the way it's going to work out, it's going to be 2 years. And he's going to get $75 million. And when you got a completely torn ACL, Achilles, at that age, the odds of him coming back are not very good. So basically, the Jets are going to pay him $18.75 million per play. 4 plays. That's what he got. Now, I know a lot of people this morning are saying, this should be a lesson to the NFL, that they need to get rid of turf and to go with grass. And I'm not saying they shouldn't. But I'm saying when you're 39 years old and you've had calf issues, that was his problem, calf issues. You put strain on other parts of the body, and at 39, stuff like this happens. I don't think necessarily it was the turf. I think it was the age and other injuries that weakened other parts of the body, and the Achilles snapped. 18.75 mil for 4 plays is what will end up being the Jets' legacy for Aaron Rodgers. He'll be a Hall of Famer. He'll go back to Green Bay. He'll be a hero there for sure, deservedly so. He is really, truly one of the greats to play. But that is really sad. We'll talk about that with Jeff Moore and with TJ Reeves. Jeff Moore joins us at 10:25. Our final segment, as always, will be with our good friend down in Tampa, the sideline reporter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is TJ Reeves. Tigers are 14.5-point favorites for their game with the Naval Academy on Thursday night, 6:30 at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. Here's something interesting that we learned yesterday. Brian Newberry is the new coach that replaced Ken Niumatalolo after all those years. Now, he was the defensive coordinator for Niumatalolo, so they basically hired from within. This was all the machinations of the AD there that ousted Niumatalolo, who really wanted one more year. I honestly, if you look at what's occurred the last couple of years with Navy, it's getting harder and harder for Navy because now they're competing against NIL money. It used to be they were paying their guys, but they can't take transfer portals. You got to go. It's a commitment to get into the Navy, and I don't think that should change. And it's a certain type of athlete that you're going to get. And so it's going to be harder and harder for the academies, and I think it was getting harder and harder for Ken Niumatalolo. He asked for one more year. The AD said no, and knocked him out and hired his DC. So we'll see what Brian Newberry can do. But what we learned yesterday was that Ryan Silverfield and Brian Newberry actually have history. They coached against one another way back when Ryan was a coach at Hampton-Sydney College, and Newberry was a coach at Washington and Lee. By the way, have you ever been to Washington and Lee?
Yeah, I've been to both, actually.
I don't. Is Hampton-Sydney as pretty as Washington and Lee?
Washington Lee certainly has
it's gorgeous
more
there.
cachet.
Come
to it.
on. That's beautiful, that place.
Good basketball programs at both schools.
Right in
though.
the Blue Ridge Mountains. Seriously.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Where is Hampton-Sydney?
I believe it's in Virginia or
So
West
it's
Virginia,
in
up there on the
Virginia
East
too?
Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. They would play each other. I'm guessing they're. I think Washington and Lee is a Division III school, though, isn't it? Like Rhodes.
They both are. Mhm.
They both are. So, anyway, goes back a long, long way. Newberry is opening up the playbook, let's just say, a little bit more. Against Wagner, who they beat last week, they threw like 10 times. So he's still got the triple option. That's their bread and butter. They're not going to change that. But he has introduced more facets to the game, including shotguns and throwing. So they threw 10 passes. I think they threw a couple of passes against Notre Dame, too, when they got killed in the first game. But I think Memphis will be prepared for it. They've worked a little bit in spring camp on it. They worked a little bit fall camp on it. You have to, especially when you're working on a short week and it's the third game of the season. So they did do that. We'll have to wait and see. The line, I want to say, opened at 16 or 16 and a half, and it slipped to 14 and a half last I looked. So there are some people that think Memphis is going to win the game, but not as commanding as they might have. News made last night by the by the athletic director's vice president and athletic director of the school, Laird Veach, was a guest on the Ryan Silverfield radio show, and basically he came out kind of swinging. And I will say this to you: on Saturday at the game in Jonesboro, the Memphis Radio Network had on Bill Hargrave, who, of course, is president of the university. And he said emphatically, we got to get this thing going. Everything's supposed to be finalized for the stadium expansion by sometime in October. And that it has to take place. Otherwise, price goes up, and the commitment that other schools might be thinking about when they think about the next wave of expansion have to see that this is going to happen. It's important. President said that on our pregame show on Saturday, and then Laird basically emphatically reiterated that message in a strong way last night on the Ryan Silverfield show, that they got to get this thing going. The mayor is the one who ends up making the decision, right? This is sort of Memphis versus the Grizzlies. I think the mayor is trying to work on some sort of compromise that'll make everybody happy. I don't know that you can. The rumors are out there that the Grizzlies want it all. That you take the $350 and then all the other money between bonds and entertainment districts and the pilots, lieu of taxes and all this other stuff, that it could come to about $600 million, and that the Grizzlies think that they need it all. And we've had this argument before. Yes, the Grizzlies are the most important team in the market. It's hard not to make that argument because they are the only major league team in the market. But University of Memphis is the most important institution in the market. It educates all of the masses. It provides the employment supply from labor to executive, lawyers, nurses. It's important. It represents all walks of life. So the state allocated money to be used by both entities. And by the way, the state providing the money is also over the university. It's a state entity. It deserves its share. It's critical for its share to keep, because here's the thing. Every president I've ever known has always said, athletics is the window of your university. It is what makes people know the university. It's what makes people want to give to the university. It makes people come back to the university. It's important. And getting into a better conference is important for this university to continue its mission. It's done a great job in the last few years. If you look, there have been cranes on campus. It has become an R1 research institute. I asked President Hargrave if really academics in this new status were that important to these other schools. He said emphatically yes. There was some snobbery by the ACC when they were looking at schools because, let's face it, Stanford and Cal are not chop liver when it comes to academics. So that was an enticement. So, yeah, it does matter. And so I'm really curious, and it's got to happen soon, not to put too much pressure or the onus on the mayor, but that's it. It's true. He was the one that lobbied to get the funds. Now he's got to be the guy that allocates it without offending the Grizzlies, but making it possible for Memphis to finally get this stadium that they need to get it right. Time is ticking. There's no doubt about that. I mentioned that the Tigers were 14.5-point favorites. There's some crazy lines out here, okay? Tennessee at Florida. Tell me if this is a sucker line, Mr. Better, because you and Harden, that's half your show, your shtick. That is minus 6.5 Volunteers at a bad Florida team. Now it's in the swamp. I'll give you that. That says to me, sucker bet.
Yeah, I mean, very much so it could. But, college is less like that nowadays, I feel like, just in my experience betting on college. Like, that, I think, is an excellent approach when you go look at, like, NFL lines. But it seems like college, sometimes the suckers beat the heck out of the sharp bettors.
All I can say is this. I mean, when you look at that line, you're going, heck, Tennessee's going to beat them by 20 points. How can that line be 6.5? There's another line that's similar. I'm not saying Georgia isn't much better than South Carolina, but 27.5 points, you got to score 4 touchdowns over what South Carolina is going to do to pay off. That's another one that I'm going, I don't think South Carolina's got a chance, but 27.5, sucker bet. We'll see. Arkansas minus 9 against BYU at home. I guess that sounds about right. I think that one's on the money. Ole Miss 19.5 in Oxford against Georgia Tech. I don't think Georgia Tech's very good, so that probably is pretty close too. But I really do not totally understand the Georgia South Carolina line or the Tennessee Florida line. And when I see a line like that, you know what I say, J-Mo?
What's that?
Don't bet it. Something crazy.
Stay away.
Stay away for sure. All right, let's get to Tim Doolin here in a minute. I should tell everybody I'm sitting in the Family Leisure Studios and the world's biggest spa sale is going on at I-40 and Whidden Road. That's where the real family leisure is, and it's back and bigger than ever. This world's biggest spa sale has 50 different models to choose from, 5 different manufacturers, and you've got 24 months, same as cash available. Some of these things, like stock spas and swim spas, they're up to 30% off. Get there. Tell them we sent you. Get there. to family leisure. And our title sponsor, it's Homer Skelton Hyundai in Olive Branch, home of a deal on a G70. Yeah, they sell Genesis cars at Homer Skelton Hyundai. Not every Hyundai dealership can, but when you're as good as they are at Homer Skelton, that's the honor that you get. And these cars are just gorgeous. You get that little G70, that rocket ship right now, the deal is, it's been for a while. You finance with Genesis, you get a $1,000 rebate. The cars are back on the lot like they were pre-COVID. All those great Hyundais, my favorite, the Santa Fe, of which I am a 2 Santa Fe Sport household. There is the little smaller Tucson. There's the Elantra. There is the Palisade. There is now a new Genesis SUV. They're all there. And the pre-owned cars, they're back to pre-COVID levels. All you got to do is get to Highway 78, Lamar, and the first exit in Mississippi, Craft Road's real easy. Highways are no fix there. Turn left, see Chris True and all the gang at Homer Skelton Hyundai. We got to talk a little bit of baseball with Tim Doolin. I'm telling you, I am a little upset today.
You are?
Yes. You know, the Cubs were at Colorado last night. The Cubs won 5-4. But someone just mean-spirited. Fans can be so mean. Behind the plate in Coors Field. Is it still Coors Field? I think it is.
It is, oh yeah.
In Coors Field, behind the plate, for everybody to see, was a guy dressed up in it's not Halloween, dressed up in a costume, a look-alike for Steve Bartman. Come on. Oh. How mean can you be? I'm glad the Cubs beat them 5-4.
There you go.
All right. I got to ask you about home runs. Last night, Matt Olson hit his 49th and his 50th. There's like 5 Cubs that have over 20 home runs. Is it my imagination? Are we getting more home runs this year? And if that is true, the production is up, why is it?
Well, I don't know. I don't know if we could say that pitching is down. So I don't know that that's the case. I think, you know, what a lot of people don't realize is that Major League Baseball owns Rawlings, who makes the baseballs. So they have the ability to do whatever they want to, make the baseball a little harder, make the seams a little bit taller or shorter or whatever. I can tell you this: Mookie has told me from time to time that, man, these balls are really hard. I'm like, come on. He goes, well, wait. Well, when I'd go out there and see it, and the Major League Baseball is like a golf ball, Wolo. It's ridiculously hard. So I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think it might be that the baseball's spun a little bit tighter and harder, which obviously makes it travel. I think that players are continuing to get bigger and stronger, and I don't know that the strike zone's getting better, but hitters aren't missing as much. I can tell you that.
Do you so you're saying you think that Major League Baseball can manipulate the
I'm
ball?
definitely telling you that. I'm definitely telling you that. Yes, they can.
Who would make that decision? Who would say
Manfred?
Robert Manfred would go to Rawlings and say, "Hey, I want home runs to be up this year."
Well, he doesn't say it like that. I mean, he probably says we want the ball to be spun a little bit tighter, which obviously equates to what you just said. But yeah, that's exactly what. And really, no one knows because they own they own Rawlings. So
interesting. Well, I don't have a problem with the major league entity owning the baseball supplier. It makes sense because that way they can supply their own baseballs cheaply, and they use a lot of baseballs. Like, yes, I've always been amazed and wondered. So if the ball is in the dirt, ball one hits the ground, the catcher immediately gives the ball to the umpire, and he gives him a brand new ball.
Yeah, they're either
what happens to the old ball?
That's a good question. They use those balls. Sometimes they use those balls for batting practice. And then in often cases, they'll sell those balls out in the open market to, people that want to buy a Major League Baseball, a game baseball. But typically they'll use them, they'll reuse them, send them down to the minor leagues, to their minor league affiliates for batting practice, or they'll use them for their own batting practice or whatever. because people say why do they throw those balls out? Now they don't throw them out in the minor leagues, just from a cost perspective. However, if a Major League Baseball hits the dirt, there becomes a scuff on the leather part of the baseball. Well, really good pitchers, Kurt Schilling, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, all the best pitchers would be able to take that scuffed ball, and depending on where the scuff is, they would hold their grip to where the rotation is affected, the spin rate and the rotation is affected, which makes the ball do certain things. So it's amazing to me, but that's a fact. That's why you would see years ago Mike Scott and other guys.
Gaylord Perry used to
they would get
scuff
in
the
trouble
ball
for
up, right?
scuffing the ball. That's
Yeah.
right. And so that's exactly what happens. So they throw those balls out.
And, that's always amazing to me because, what do you think? They use a couple hundred a game?
Oh, probably so.
Probably more. Yeah, I'd just say at least that, right?
Yeah.
It is wild. Who's the best team in baseball? We got 20 games less to the regular season. Division winners are pretty well established at this point. The wild card, particularly in the National League, is up for grabs. Who do you think is the best team in all of Major League Baseball?
I would say from not just the roster, but also the consistency that they've been able to withstand over the course of the year. And in this case, I think the Braves are. Just when you look at that lineup and look what they're producing, top to bottom, offensively, defensively, they run the bases, they pitch, they have a solid bullpen, they got a great coaching staff. I just don't think there's anybody better right now than the Braves. Some people could argue the Astros, and likewise, they're very productive and they've got a solid roster. They've Dusty Baker, who's obviously a proven great manager that keeps the chemistry in the clubhouse at a high level. I think the Dodgers are in that conversation, although I don't know if the Dodgers are in the same category as the Braves. They probably are as much with the Astros, but those would be the top three in my opinion. But just to look at what the Braves have been able to do, and I know we talked about it before on the show, is that they were able to not only tie up a lot of players that they had under control to long-term contracts, Albies, Acuna, Austin Riley, Matt Olson. When they got him in the trade, they locked him up. So you look at that lineup, and they've been able to solidify not just those players long term, but those players were homegrown, which means they have been brought up in the Braves culture. Schnitker's been in that organization for a long time, and I think the players understand that Schnitker, because he's been there for so long, that he is a true, what we call a manager of the game, because and like we've talked about as well, most of these teams are run by the front office, and the managers are nothing more than puppets that are just navigating through the game, doing what the GM says to do. I think the Braves have a combination of Schnitker listening to the analytics, but yet he's able to manage the game on the field, which to me makes players respect the manager and the clubhouse, and I think you're seeing the results that they're getting because of that.
I think it is interesting. I think the Braves are probably the best team. It's amazing. I think they've been pretty relevant since the 90s. Hardly any bad years. It's been an unreal 30-year run for this ball club. And the Astros have been outstanding, no question. The Rangers have been really good this year. No one's talking Baltimore Orioles. You realize the Baltimore Orioles have the best record in the American League. It's the second best record in the majors, 39 games over 500, only behind the Atlanta Braves. Why are we not talking Baltimore? Is it because they just have been so terrible for so long?
I think that's part of it. I mean, shame on me not to talk about my former organization, but I think what they've done is they've built and got back relevant really fast in the draft. They've been able to acquire a few trades, but more than anything, I think the ownership bought into Elias's, the GM's philosophy of how we're going to get back relevant, and they've done it. Now, one thing that's interesting, we don't really follow the Orioles that much because of what you just said, but also because they're not they're not close to home, but they would be. If I were in the American League, I would be scared of what the Orioles could do, because these players are young, they're hungry, they're wanting to prove that the Orioles are back, and they played well. So I don't know that we say, look out if they get hot. They've been hot, most of the year. The big thing is once it gets down to the playoffs, because these players haven't been there, you go against the likes of the Astros. It's going to be a little challenging, but they're definitely relevant. And they drafted Matt Holliday's son, and here's a guy that is 19 years old, and he's been started out in A-ball, went to Double-A. He's now in Triple-A, and he's going to be the heir apparent shortstop. And they've got a shortstop that's putting up monster numbers, so they've got the flexibility of moving one of those two guys to second, one of those two guys to third. And so they've had a couple of really, really good drafts, I think, that have really put them in a position to where they are today.
We'll be talking playoffs next week. Tim, as always, we appreciate it so much. We'll chat with you next Tuesday.
All right, Wolo. Thanks, man.
All right, that's Tim Doolin, our man on baseball, brought to you by Conway. Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric, and, of course, all the new technology, including hot water heaters. The brand-new efficient tanked water heaters are even better. Even better are the tankless hot water heaters, which are now more affordable. You save money on your MLGW bill because you only heat the water that you're using. And bottom line is you never run out of hot water. It's the coolest. And you could be eligible for a $2,000 federal rebate. All you got to do is call 384-3511. That's the number for Conway Services, heating, cooling, plumbing, and electric. Jeff Moore, former Vol, former Ram. He's next on the NFL.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
A cold shower is no way to start your day. Purchase a new water heater from the pros at Conway Services, and you may be eligible for up to $2,000 in federal tax credits. Call 384-3511 to schedule your appointment. Visit conwayservices.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 64210, 64365 EAS, MS 19668.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Country music singer-songwriter Kylie Morgan absolutely loves her Genesis diamond ring.
I got so many compliments as soon as I got the ring and continue to get compliments on it, because it looks really pretty on my finger.
Kylie's husband Jay heard folks in the music industry raving about Genesis, but he also did a lot of homework on his own.
When it came to finding the ring, he took it very seriously. He did all the research. I think he knows more about diamonds than any man in the entire world, and that's how he landed on Genesis. He just knew that they were the best.
Jay picked out a stunning, flawless, pear-shaped diamond in an elegant setting. Got the value price Genesis is known for. And now they both tell everyone they meet about the amazing Genesis experience.
When you walk into Genesis, you can just feel the happiness. You know that they're helping find something that symbolizes the love that you have for your partner, and you can feel that as soon as you walk through the door.
It's always been you, and I've always been your wife.
Genesis Diamonds at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
The National Football League, it's over for week number 1. We recap it with Jeff Moore in a second. He's brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. What a great company. What they do is they collaborate, like any team. They meet, they collaborate, they get to know you, your family, what's important, what your budget is, and then they protect you with your home, with your auto, and life insurance too. And if you got a small to mid-sized business, that's where their expertise comes in. They get to know your employees, what your product is, what your budget is, what's important. They'll even forecast it out for you and then protect you. Simple. All you got to do is call 901-386-GERD. That's 4777. They got that in their number because they're Tiger supporters. That's 901-386-4777. Get protected. Home, life, business with the Eflin Insurance Team. Last night, down goes Aaron Rodgers. The word is today. It is official. It is a completely torn Achilles, which means he's out at least a year.
Yeah.
And he's 39 years old, which means he's going to be 40, which he's gotten a guaranteed $75 million for the next 2 years from the New York Jets. 4 plays, $18.75 million per play. I got a feeling is going to be what it all ends up being for Aaron Rodgers in New York with the Jets. That's really unfortunate for sure. I got to ask you a little bit about turf. A lot of people blaming the turf. I think it's more he had a calf strain. He was battling that the whole time, and he's 39 years old. I think it's more that. Not that I'm for grass, but I don't think that's the reason.
I don't think that's the reason either. I think it's just an unfortunate freak accident. I mean, injury rather, which can happen on any play to any player. I mean, regardless of the surface. It's just that kind of game. So I don't put it on the surface at all.
You were really high on the Jets coming in. You're a big Robert Saleh fan. Their defense is incredible. There's no doubt about that. And Zach Wilson was really highly regarded. He did have a whole camp and learned the way that Aaron Rodgers thinks, and they put in Aaron Rodgers' offense with his old Green Bay OC. So do you think they are still a playoff team, a highly regarded team? They did win the game over the Bills that I thought were the team that would win that division.
Yeah. I'm more convinced probably after last night than I was before because I felt like this win was more of a culture coaching win. I mean, typically in the past, if the Jets were in this situation, they would lose the game. But this team believed they could win, and their defense is tenacious. I think Mac Wilson is going to be fine, especially with what he's learned from watching Aaron Rodgers and having the OC that Aaron Rodgers had as well. I just like this team. I think this team is going to be really dangerous.
Well, the receiver Wilson, one of the best catches we've seen in a couple of years. That was pretty amazing. And then you got a rookie that returned the punt that won the game in overtime. So those are positives. I really do not understand Buffalo. I was really high on them for the last 2 years. I am now officially off the Bills and off of the Josh Allen bandwagon. The guy that is omnipresent everywhere with advertising, who seemed to have been the next coming quarterback in the league, has now thrown 9 interceptions in his last 5 games. Last night, 3 picks and a fumble that was really, I hate to say it, Buffalo gifted the New York Jets that win. Maybe the Jets culture had them believing, but the Bills culture was like Christmas Day. Here, we're giving you this W.
Well, you still have to make the interceptions when the quarterback throws the ball errantly. You still got to hit them to make them fumble. This team their defense believes that they can take the ball away, and they're very physical, and teams don't like – I mean, the belief and the culture in that Jets team is palpable. I think this is a dangerous team going forward. And so is the Miami Dolphins, by the way, in that same division. I thought them going into Los Angeles and beating the Chargers the way they did, and Tua having an almost perfect game shows that this team is going to be pretty substantial going forward, too. Very exciting to see Tua play the way he played. And Tyreek Hill is just a freak of nature, man.
He's something. I know the Chiefs really miss him. Chiefs did get back their defensive lineman, Chris Smith. I don't know who won that. I think the Chiefs actually won that battle. It's a 1-year deal. We'll see how it all plays out. All right, Sunday, 14 games, 8 road wins. A lot of surprises. The way Dallas just destroyed the New York Giants at home, San Francisco going to Pittsburgh and beating them up big time. The Bears being the Bears, just absolutely looking terrible against Jordan Love in Green Bay. What were your favorite games? Who were the winners? Who were the losers?
Well, I certainly was impressed by the 49ers. You know, I still cannot get over the idea that Brock Purdy was the last guy drafted.
Mr. Irrelevant.
And it just goes to show, something that I always marvel about when it comes to professional athletes on professional teams, and that's the difference in talents between players is so minute, and it's really just how tough a player is mentally. I think that makes the difference.
I think that's a great point to be made. There's when you get to the National Football League or you get to Major League Baseball or let's say the PGA Tour too, because that's all on you.
Yeah.
But like the Bears released an established name because there's a Division II player that beat him out in camp. I mean, it's how you do on the field that really determines where you're going to be.
Yeah, and again, it's twofold. It's what you do on the field is physical, but how tough you are mentally, man, that makes all the difference in the world. And it's exciting to see San Francisco, especially with the defense that they have and the way that he's playing, and then their running game is tremendous. They're going to be an interesting team to watch going down the stretch. I was really surprised that Cleveland spanked Cincinnati the way they did, and Joe Burrow, after signing that lucrative contract, played his worst game as a pro. And I know he's been out a little bit in preseason. It really shows how significant preseason snaps can be when you get into the regular season. That was a thumping.
There's another guy. I mean, they just gave him a lot of money, not to compare him with Aaron Rodgers, because he hasn't done what Aaron Rodgers did take his team to a Super Bowl. Clearly, if you're going to invest in a guy, he's the kind of guy.
Yeah.
But he's always injured. He's got the same kind of calf issues, I think, that have plagued Aaron Rodgers. So you got to wonder, is this guy going to make this season? They just paid him, $270, of which $200 million is guaranteed?
Yeah.
And I don't know. We'll see how all of that plays out. But I thought the Bengals might win that division because I'm a Burrow guy. But now you got to wonder. You can't really you can't say the first week of the season is going to determine who's making the playoffs, who's not.
Small sample size. I'm still a big Joe Burrow fan. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think he's going to be solid. I think that team is going to be in the mix as we get into the playoffs. But the surprise to me is that Cleveland played so well and were able to dominate them the way they did.
The Chiefs, you mentioned Tyreek Hill. They could use him, that's for sure. They let him go. They were able to get the defensive lineman. They lost 21-20. Kelsey didn't play in that game. I don't know if he's going to play this week. But they're hurting at wide receiver. You can have the greatest quarterback in the game, and there is no doubt in my mind Patrick Mahomes is.
Yeah.
But if you don't have targets, you got a problem.
Yeah, and they've got some young guys that had some drops, and that's going to happen. But when they get Kelsey back in the lineup, they'll be fine, and I think this team is going to be fine. But the big news for me for that game was Detroit believing they can win and really going toe-to-toe, being really physical. And, of course, we're saying that they may be the team to watch in that NFC North.
I don't think there's any question about it. The Bears, again, I'm disinterested. One game. I reserve the right to change my mind, but I'm very disheartened. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, Detroit is good. I'm not saying that Goff's the greatest quarterback in the world, but they got Montgomery. They got this kid, St. Brown, as a receiver who's really good. They play physical defense. I think Detroit was one of the winners, for sure, of last week, like the Niners were. The Steelers were losers. The Bengals were losers. What do you make out of the Titans and the Saints? Saints are supposed to win that division. It was there. The Titans play a one-point game. There are no moral victories, but I thought that was better than we would see from the Titans in New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they played a respectable game. I can't get excited about anything I saw from them offensively, defensively. They've got a lot of work to do, and I think Jacksonville is still the class of that division.
The Seahawks, a lot of people were high on them, and they get taken down by your Rams, 30-13. Everybody thinks the Rams had that 1 year and they're through, and that turned the tables. That was in Seattle.
Yeah, I mean, those teams always are going to play each other tough, regardless of what their records were previously. It was surprising to see the Rams go up there and win, and it was a good win for them. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Seattle go to L.A. and win down there. I mean, that's just the way those teams play.
And then we really haven't touched much on the Giants and the Cowboys. I mean, the Cowboys made one major statement in was that in
that was in New York.
That was in New York in the rain, right?
In the rain, yeah.
So they had 2 games in New York this past weekend, and the Giants totally laid an egg. But is Dallas really that good? I did not think so. Dak Prescott sure showed what he can do. Our man Tony Pollard had a couple of touchdowns. That defense was better. What do you think this says about Dallas? And what it says about the Giants?
I think the Cowboys have one of the best defenses in the league, and I think they look dominant. They look confident. They're all over the field. It looked like they had 13 players. The Giants, and of course, offensively, I was not impressed with Dak Prescott's performance. Everybody's got big expectations for him, and he was pretty average in that game. Matter of fact, he had some really bad throws in that game, so he's got to play better if they expect to have any kind of chance to challenge the Eagles. But that Dallas defense is one of the best I've seen.
They got your Jets now.
Yeah.
Cowboys and the Jets this coming week. That'll be a terrific football game for sure.
Absolutely.
That's actually one of the better ones, I think, on the agenda for the week. It starts Thursday night with the Vikings and the Eagles. And the Vikings have already fallen flat on their face at home against the Tampa Buccaneers.
Yeah. So, the Vikings will struggle this year, I think. I think losing Dalvin Cook was a big loss for them. Their defense is good, but they're going to have some challenges going forward. And it'll be interesting to see how that game turns out. I expect it'll be well contested. We'll see.
Last thing, your favorite storyline, either for this past week or what you expect this coming week.
Well, for this past week, it certainly was watching the Jets. Watching the Jets last night come back and win after losing their quarterback. And it just, to me, speaks to watch out for these guys. These guys are going to be dangerous.
Man, you're high still on the Jets, even without Aaron Rodgers. As always, a pleasure. Thank you so much. Right. That is Jeff Moore, former Vol, former Ram, and he's brought to you by Ken Garland. Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. Ken knows it's a commitment you're making. Big decision. You're spending a lot of money on a dream home, or could be a renovation. I call it renovation with innovation, where he brings you all the modern amenities into your old home on your lot. You don't want to move, but you want California closets. You want the island in the kitchen. You want the media room. He can do it. 751-1632. Better yet, go to kengarland.com. See what he and his dad before him did. 65 years of Ken Garland. That's for sure. Then call that number, 751-1632. Fun guy to talk to. Sees little details, big picture, all at the same time. That's a rare guy. And the other thing is, he knows the commitment you're making, which is why he commits to you. He'll be with you working hard the whole way, ensuring that you get quality construction on time, on budget. That's Ken Garland, Custom Home Builders. To Tampa we go momentarily. TJ Reeves is standing by. He comes your way next.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Hey fellas, Bill Russell here at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers, and I've got a question for you. When was the last time you surprised your wonderful lady with something nice for absolutely no reason at all? Not a birthday, not an anniversary, but for no reason other than to show her that you do not take her and all she does for you for granted. For 38 years, we've been helping Memphis men show their ladies how grateful they are to have them in their lives. For special occasions, well, gifts are expected. But a lot of time, the unexpected presents given for no reason other than love have the most impact and say the most to her. Those gifts say you care all the time. The size or the price of the gift is of very little importance. It's the thought you put into it that will make her smile. Come see me, Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers. Let us help you find just the right thing, large or small, that will let her know how you feel. Russell Brothers, 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
Football is back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Plus, all customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code ROME, R-O-M-E, bet just $5, and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. That's code ROME, only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be present in state where lawful to wager. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See dkng.co/football for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions to apply.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun. So you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard. It's perfect.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
To Tampa we go momentarily. TJ standing by is brought to you by Southern Security, your home team credit union. They've been around 70 years serving the Mid-South. Now they're led by Dawn Grader. It's gotten even better. If you want unbeatable rates, low fees, unreal new technology, if you're a business owner, if you're in need of an auto loan, need better benefits with your credit card, you go to Southern Security. It's your hometown credit union, big sponsors of the U of M athletic department, and it's really like family. If you want to compare rates or learn about all the membership advantages you get, call 452-7900. Again, your home team credit union, the good folks at Southern Security. TJ Reeves, fresh from a trip to Minnesota in their new dome, which did you tell me is the loudest arena you've been in lately?
I will tell you that I think I got my hearing back about 9 p.m. last night after being there. It was, and it's not just natural roaring crowd in the dome. Seriously, the NFL should look into how blasting loud the music and the PA was in a dome stadium. That's artificial, and it's just a little much. It's one thing if the crowd's making the noise, but you know what the best remedy is for that? The best tonic? Go play good football, silence the crowd, win the game, and everybody goes home quietly. And I watched tens of thousands clad in purple file out quietly after defeat as the Buccaneers got the win on Sunday. And I already know what's coming here. Are you ready to ball up the Chicago Bears season and throw it in your Mike Ditka trash can after one game and one loss to the Packers? It's over?
Let me just say this. I've become quickly disinterested. I stupidly doubled our bet. Not only would I owe you a Mel's hot dog if the Bears lose to Tampa this week, but I also doubled it with a Polish. I'm in big trouble.
You're in regret mode right now. Regret mode.
But it's Baker Mayfield in Tampa, so I'm not necessarily doomed. I don't trust that guy.
It's still Justin Fields, though, in Chicago, and he didn't look stellar on Sunday against Green Bay.
No, and he's got to start doing that. He's got, I think, to be more patient. I know he's not getting protected as well as he should be, but I'm not sure I see total checkdowns. I still think he wants to run too much.
Well, and there will be some Bear fans here, and it will be hot, and it's interesting because the dynamic has changed off the win over Minnesota, where there was optimism, but now there's a ton of optimism that you can get off to a 2-0 start, and what's looming is Monday Night Football the following week with the Eagles right here. So let's see what it looks like later this week. But Mayfield clicked from the second quarter on. I mean, it was a struggle in the first quarter. They had 3 consecutive drives without a first down. They had 8 yards in three drives. I'm not a math major from the University of Memphis, the former Memphis State, but that's not good. So the offense was not good early, but he began to find Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and the Bucs got the win, and now we'll take on your Bears coming up. So a wild weekend to say the least, where Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs started the weekend by losing on Thursday night. What was that from the Giants in the opener with the Cowboys, a total no-show? And I know you want to get to Aaron Rodgers and the confirmation that it's over before it ever really began.
It's
4
over.
plays.
Total,
and it's over.
It is not a partial. It's a total Achilles tear, and that's a year minimum.
Yes.
And on top of that, he'll be 40. I already did the math. He's guaranteed 2 years' worth of money. I think his legacy will be $18.75 million per play. That's what we'll remember
for last night.
Aaron Rodgers' tenure.
Because he's guaranteed like $70 million for this year, right?
No,
the signing bonus and the guaranteed salary.
It's a 2-year, $75 million guarantee. Guarantee
okay.
$75
so that
million.
equates out to what per play last night for the injury?
18.75.
That's
18.75
type money.
Yeah.
That is Woloshyn type money. Incredible. And they're deflated. It's a gut punch for them in New York. Again, as I half joking, because all of our New York brothers and sisters love to make fun of everything Tampa Bay. Hopefully they got their fill of seeing Aaron Rodgers on the HBO Hard Knocks on Max. Because that's about all that you're going to get out of this Jets experiment.
I've heard former Green Bay teammates. I've heard some Jets teammates now all complain, even though this is brand new turf, it's supposed to be the best new turf, that it was all about the NFL needs to go to grass. I'd love your take on that. And again, I'm okay with grass. I prefer grass. If I were a player over turf, I don't care how good the turf is. I want the real thing because I do think it's better for you. However, I'll say this. I think it was more 39 years old with a calf strain that was responsible for that Achilles tear than the turf itself.
Well, and you make a good point that they replaced the field there. Now, I was just on another show where they're talking about that these field turf fields, they are very sticky, very grabby as it is, and certainly the newer ones would probably be that way. But this was not a non-contact thing. Listen to us playing orthopedics on Sports 56 on your show. This was a player landing on him. And landing on his leg awkwardly where his heel and his foot planted in the ground are at an odd angle, and it ripped the Achilles. And, again, what it comes back to, I'm going to bring it back to Tampa Bay. The amazement of 3 seasons ago, Tom Brady's 43 years old, to come into this new situation. And we kept saying at the time and after it was over, it's amazing how he is not getting hit week after week after week with a better offensive line and getting the ball out of his hand quickly. He would go game after game and not only not get sacked, really not get hit by anybody. And so that's one of the remarkable underlying reasons why the Buccaneers had so much success and why Brady came back and played a second season at year 44 years of age, and still played at a very high level, threw for 5,000 yards, the Bucs won 13 games, because he was not getting hit over and over again. Now, finally, at age 45 last year, he began to get hit more. He looked more mortal. He looked a half step or a half beat, not the same Tom Brady, and Father Time catches up with all of us. But now you see what happened to Aaron Rodgers at 39 years of age, and that is a tough position to play as it is. You wonder if this is the end. It likely is the end for him.
I would think it is, but you know what? I mean, he is in pretty good shape, and he's going to have a year to rehab. So we'll see. I tend to think that those 4 plays will be the only plays that he ever plays in a New York Jets uniform. But we'll have to wait and be patient on that one. What do you think's happened to Josh Allen? I mean, this guy went from being really good to being everywhere on TV with so many different kinds of advertising deals to now 9 interceptions in the last 5 games, 3 last night with a fumble that basically gave the New York Jets the victory. I never seen a team give a win away like Buffalo did last night. And this guy, who I thought was going to be the next great quarterback, is really struggling.
Not taking care of the ball. I mean, remember, they opened the year a year ago with an impressive win at L.A. on the Super Bowl night in L.A. They later won in Kansas City. And then the second half of last year, the turnovers began, and now it's continued into week one. It is only one game, but he's got to take better care of the football. He is immensely talented. There's question marks about their offensive line and everything around him. But you look at last night, you're not going to win when you're turning the ball over 3, 4, 5 times a game in the NFL. By and large, that's a killer. You're going to lose the game. So he's got to do better with the turnovers, and you're right. Some of the criticism is going to be you have too many TV commercials, you have too much hype and other things going on. Deliver on the field.
Yeah. I'm surprised you've not used the analogy that you gave me earlier. I do think he's more productive than this, but people are whispering Jameis Winston.
It's the same kind of thing. Jameis immensely talented, but could not stay away from the interceptions and the turnovers, and it got progressively worse. And that's what they have to fear in Buffalo, that this is a guy that led them to the playoffs, led them to a playoff win, which, by the way, Jameis Winston didn't do that in Tampa Bay. But now he's going backwards with interceptions and with turnovers, and it's got to be alarming, no doubt.
The game that you think spoke the most this week, could it be Kansas City losing to Detroit? Could it be the way Cleveland beat the heck out of Joe Burrow in Cincinnati? Could it be what the Cowboys did in Giant Stadium?
How about all the above? I mean, Joe Burrow's 1-5 now against the Cleveland Browns in his career. Go figure that one. They've beaten the Bengals, I believe, 4 straight times now in Cleveland. So, and yes, the Giants completely dominated. And what was Daniel Jones still doing in the game?
I don't know.
In the fourth quarter when it's 40-0? Was that punishment? Don't know that I understand that. So, wild first week in the NFL. We love to overreact, good or bad, after one game. It is only one game for the Jets, though. It's the only time you're going to see Aaron Rodgers. But now we press on. I'm big on what does your team look like in October? What do you look like in mid-October, 4, 5, 6 games in? What do you look like at the beginning of November when you've played 8 or 9 times?
Right.
That's the true measure of who you are.
I'm going to agree. I can't remember, but I think half of the field in the first round of the playoffs last year lost their first game. So there's hope that way. All right, we got it on. I'm trying to talk myself to being enthusiastic because I don't know that your team is a juggernaut. I'm pretty certain mine is not either.
Giving up on the Bears in week 2. It's a tradition now. If you're a Bears fan,
I've got Mel's hot dog and Polish on this one. So this is humongous.
Absolutely.
All right.
You got the Tigers and Navy this week. We got Alabama here, angry, playing USF in Tampa. There are going to be a ton of Alabama fans at that game Saturday.
I want to know why Saban would agree to go there. Would he ever come to Memphis? What's he doing in South Florida? Crazy.
It's a 2-for-1 where they're playing the first one in Tampa and then they're playing the next 2 in Bama at a discount. So that's the game Saturday, and then your Bears are here Sunday. So a lot of Alabama fans and likely a lot of Chicago Bear fans are going to be in Raymond James Stadium this weekend. We'll see what happens.
Going to be a fun weekend. Thank you, TJ. We appreciate it.
Always good to be with you, Wolo. Behave.
We'll talk to you next Tuesday. That's TJ Reeves, brought to you by Memphis Public Golf. Not a better combination. You get TJ, you get City Golf, and he's played a lot of those City Golf courses. I forgot to mention the Claw, the death of the Claw. It's going to be where the new USF football stadium is going to be, right on our old golf course. Did you know what they do in Memphis? They redo golf courses like they're doing at Audubon. I drove by there the other day. It's going to be spectacular. Beyond just the 18, there's going to be a 6-hole executive course. And you know where you park for Live at the Gardens? That you'll still be able to park there, but that is also going to become a driving range. They got the netting up there. The new Pine Hill, there's going to be a Pine Hill Championship, by the way, coming up a little bit later in this month. The senior city championship is coming up here very, very soon. So many reasons why you'll love City Golf. You know what? Cities need amenities. The city of Memphis gets it. And they are making Memphis Public Golf the best city golf in America. We say so long. We'll be back tomorrow. Johnny Radio comes your way next. Have a great day, everyone. Homer Skelton Hyundai.